Her Royal Highness Princess Leonor's wedding announcement unites the world in awe. Once upon a time, the world believed that the life of royalty was all about tradition, duty, and control. Every smile rehearsed, every gesture measured, every emotion hidden behind palace walls. But then came a moment that shattered centuries of royal restraint. A moment so unexpected, so profoundly human, that it reminded millions across the globe that even a princess can love, hope, and dream. Because this is the story of Her Royal Highness Princess Leonor of Spain, whose wedding announcement didn't just capture headlines, it captured hearts. It began quietly, almost humbly, far from the pomp one might expect from a future queen. Inside the Palacio de la Zarzuela, early morning light filtered through grand windows. Queen Letizia, calm but visibly emotional, stood by her daughter's side. King Felipe VI, dignified yet deeply moved, held a letter in his hand, the one that would soon change everything. Princess Leonor had written it herself. A letter to her parents. A declaration of love and courage. Inside were her words, simple, pure, and unstoppable. "I've found someone who understands me not as a princess but as Leonor." At that moment, silence filled the royal chambers. The king, a man known for his strength and composure, took a breath longer than usual. The queen smiled faintly, understanding more than anyone the weight of what those words meant. The heir to the Spanish throne was ready to announce her heart to the world. But who was this man, this mysterious figure who had quietly won the affection of Europe's most watched young royal? The whispers began months before the official statement. Photographs of Leonor smiling brighter, her eyes softer, began surfacing during royal events. A small golden bracelet on her wrist, a gift, perhaps, from someone significant, did not go unnoticed. The press speculated endlessly. Some said it was a foreign prince. Others believed it was a scholar, a diplomat's son, even a childhood friend. And then, as anticipation built to a feverish pitch, the Royal House of Spain released a statement that rippled across continents. Her Royal Highness Princess Leonor de Borbón y Ortiz has announced her engagement, with the blessing of Their Majesties King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia. The couple's union represents not only a personal milestone but a symbol of unity, modern love, and hope for Spain's future. The world stopped. For a few seconds, social media went silent, and then, like a wave crashing over centuries of royal tradition, it exploded with celebration. Spain rejoiced. Europe applauded. Even the nations historically distant from monarchy found themselves moved by something undeniably beautiful, the sight of a young woman who had carried the weight of expectation on her shoulders finally stepping into happiness. But beneath the joy, there was tension. Behind closed doors, the Spanish royal family had faced difficult decisions. The king knew that every word, every image, every detail would define the monarchy's image for decades. Would the world accept the man Leonor chose? Her fiancé was no stranger to the values of service and education. He came from a respected European family, known for diplomacy and humanitarian work. But he was not royal. Not born into titles, not shaped by centuries of crown and custom. He was, in every sense, a modern man, kind, humble, and quietly intelligent. Their love story had not begun in a palace. It began in Wales, at UWC Atlantic College, where Leonor had studied away from the strict protocols of Madrid. There, in a sea of students from every corner of the globe, she experienced a freedom few heirs ever taste. He was a student too. They met in the library, an encounter so ordinary that it would sound like fiction if not confirmed by those who knew them. They exchanged notes about philosophy, walked the cliffs by the sea, and spoke of life beyond titles and duty. Over time, that connection deepened into something extraordinary. When Leonor returned to Spain, she carried more than books and memories, she carried the quiet certainty that she had met her equal. Yet love within royalty is never simple. The Spanish monarchy, still healing from the challenges of past decades, had to consider public opinion, national image, and European diplomacy. King Felipe was cautious. Queen Letizia, protective. Every choice Leonor made was scrutinized, every smile analyzed. And still, Leonor stood firm. When she turned 18, during her oath to the Constitution, millions saw a poised princess ready for leadership. What they did not see was the young woman beneath the crown, the one who, that very evening, whispered to her mother, "When I speak of my future, I see him there." Months later, the couple's engagement was approved privately. The Queen wept. The King nodded in quiet acceptance. The moment had come to let Spain see the next chapter of its monarchy, not as a symbol of the past, but as a promise to the future. The wedding announcement was broadcast live from the Royal Palace of Madrid. Leonor appeared radiant, wearing a soft ivory ensemble and minimal jewelry, her voice steady yet trembling with emotion. She began, "Today, I share with Spain, with my family, and with the world, a truth that has filled my heart for years. I am engaged to the person I love deeply. Together, we will serve our country and our people with the same respect and devotion my parents have shown me." Her fiancé then stepped forward, graceful, respectful, visibly honored. His words were simple, "I love Spain because it's her home. And now, it's mine too." The audience, both in the room and across millions of screens, fell silent. In that silence, the world witnessed not a political act or royal strategy, but love. A love that transcended borders, traditions, and class. A love that united Spain in pride and the world in awe. From Paris to Buenos Aires, from Tokyo to Washington, the reaction was universal. Newspapers spoke of a new era of monarchy. Social media trended for days. Even critics of royalty found themselves touched by the authenticity of the moment. But perhaps the most poignant response came from King Felipe himself, who later said during an interview, "A monarch must lead with heart, not just with heritage. My daughter has shown both." The palace prepared for the wedding with unprecedented openness. The people were invited to participate, public celebrations, concerts, and a televised address from the couple expressing gratitude to Spain for its love and trust. Every detail of the ceremony became symbolic. The venue chosen was the Almudena Cathedral in Madrid, where history meets faith. The guest list included royalty from across Europe, dignitaries, and ordinary citizens who had served Spain with distinction. The gown was crafted by Spanish designers, blending tradition and modern simplicity. The veil, embroidered with olive branches, symbols of peace and unity. But the most touching detail was the music. Leonor had personally chosen a blend of classical Spanish hymns and modern melodies, representing both her heritage and her individuality. When she walked down the aisle, escorted by her father, King Felipe, the cathedral fell silent again. Every camera lens trembled slightly, as though afraid to interrupt the sacredness of the moment. At the altar, her fiancé waited, his eyes fixed on her not as a royal figure, but as the woman he loved. When they exchanged vows, the king and queen were seen holding hands, their expressions a mixture of pride, nostalgia, and the silent recognition that their little girl had become Spain's future. Outside, crowds filled the streets. Bells rang from every church tower in Madrid. Confetti rained over the palace gates as the newlyweds appeared on the balcony, waving to a sea of faces lit with joy. And then came the kiss, simple, brief, pure. In that single moment, history felt alive. It wasn't about power or politics. It was about love's ability to soften even the hardest traditions. After the ceremony, Leonor addressed the crowd. Her voice, calm and heartfelt, carried through the plaza. "Spain, you are my home, my family, my heart. Today, I do not only marry the one I love, I marry my duty to you, my people, forever." The applause lasted minutes. Some cried, some smiled, all felt connected. The media called it the wedding that united the world. Because it wasn't just a royal event, it was a human story. One that reminded people that in every crown beats a heart, and behind every title lives a soul that longs for love, freedom, and belonging. In the days that followed, messages poured in from every continent. Presidents, artists, and everyday citizens congratulated the couple. The hashtag, Leonor's Love Story, became the most shared in Europe that year. But beyond the glamour and the headlines, Leonor's message remained simple. Let love be strength. Let duty be compassion. Let the crown serve the heart. The Spanish monarchy, once perceived as distant, found a new spirit through her. Younger generations who had once dismissed royal traditions now saw in Leonor a mirror of modern values, education, equality, authenticity. Her wedding had done more than unite a nation. It had revived its belief in love's power to heal, connect, and inspire. As twilight fell over Madrid that evening, the newlyweds appeared once more on the palace balcony. The lights of the city shimmered below them. Leonor leaned gently on her husband's shoulder, smiling softly. King Felipe and Queen Letizia watched from behind the curtain, tears in their eyes, knowing they had witnessed the future not just of their family, but of their country. And somewhere in the distance, the bells of Madrid continued to ring, not for royalty, not for power, but for love. Because sometimes, the world doesn't need another fairy tale. It needs a true story. And this was one. Would you like me to extend this narrative into part 2, the post-wedding story published